Namaste, dear friends. Namaste to all of you. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. Namaste to all of you. Good to see you all. Very good to see you all. Good to see you all. The echo is from the broadcast going live on Facebook. So sorry about that. But anyway, without further ado, we are happy to go forward with our session today on Karuna. Welcome to Viniyoga Unplugged. It's good to see you all. Let's begin with the chanting first. Let's very much begin with the chanting first. Om Shoklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Yasya Dviradavaktradyah Parishadya Parashatam Vignannignanti Satatam Vishwaksenantamashraye Jnananandamayan Devam Nirmalaspatikakritim Adharam Sarvavidyanam Hayagrevam Upasmahe Pundarekaasanasenam Pandura Sannibham Akhandabodhajanakam Hayagrevam Upasmahe Gurubhyastadgurubhyascha Namo Vakamadhimahe Vranimahe cha tatradyav Dampate jagatam pate Srinagaryam Mahapuryam Tamraparnyuttare tate Shretintrini Mooladhamne Shathakopaya Mangalam Jayatu Jayatu Natho Nyaya Tattva Pranitam Jayatu Jayatu Yogi Yoga Gupya Pravakta Jayatu Jayatu Sakshat Tattvadarshi Maharshi Jayatu Jayatu Bhaktir Moolakandam Munindraha Swadhayanneha Sarvesham Trayantartham Sudurgraham Stotrayamasa Yogendra Tam Vande Yamunakvayam Yo Nityamachyutapadambuja Yugma Rukmam Vyamohitastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadguror Bhagavatasya Dayeka Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye Shriman Venkatanatharya Kavitarkika Kesari Vedantacharya Varyo Me Sannidattam Sada Hridi Shri Krishna Brahma Tantrottama Guru Karuna Vapta Chakranka Bhashyam Vairagyachara Vardhau Varada Padamukhe Lakshmane Nyastabharam Shri Vageshattaturyam Shatha Ripu Yatirat Veda Chodarya Murtim Notnam Sriranganatham Kaliripumanagam Brahmatantram Shrayamaha. Srimannotanaranganatayatiradatmatma Srimannotana-Lakshmanarya-Yatirat Samprapta-Turyashramam Srivasendra-Kataksha-Santata-Sudha Lakshyatma-Yogaschitam Srimannotana-Vagadhisha-Yaminam Bhaktya-Shrayamo Gurum Shri Krishna Vagesha Yateshwarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashya Saram Shrinotnarangendra Yasau Samarpitaswam Shri Krishna Maryam Guruvaryamire Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Kritodayam Yogacharyam Krishnamaryam Guruvaryamaham bhaje. Shishyakam Krishnamaryasya Nathavamsha-pradipakam Kalyana-gunaropantam Srideshikam namamyaham Prashanta-purushakaram Viniyoga-pracharakam Vishesha-vaidikam Surim Tandeshikam smaramyaham Lakshminatha-samarambham Nyathaya-munamadhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om 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 Shante Shante Shantehi. Namaste, dear friends. Namaste, and welcome back to our monthly meeting of our community and a discussion about certain important topics. Actually, today's topic is quite important, especially considering the kind of times we are living in now, where there is a lot of conflict and conflict leading to suffering. And I think it's very, very essential to develop what Patanjali calls as compassion, karuna. So among the four attitudes that the great Patanjali is asking us to develop, Patanjali is including karuna as the second attitude, which is called compassion. Karuna is literally translated, is called compassion. And compassion involves not only a part of empathy where you are feeling another person's pain and suffering, but you are willing to, to be part of their suffering by sharing it. And that is where the word compassion comes, because I did some research, and apparently this comes from a Latin word, cum and passion, which passion in interestingly in the Latin language means some kind of suffering. So you suffer together. That means you reduce the burden of another by sharing part of their suffering. So there's a difference between empathy and compassion. where in empathy you're just feeling another person's suffering, another person's feelings, actually, not only suffering, but other person's feelings, whatever it is, good or bad. But compassion involves not only the feeling of other people's pain, but actually to try and do something to reduce their suffering. Now, this does not mean you solve their problem or you kind of do what they should actually do. Like many times, mothers or fathers are doing the homework for the children because the children don't like the to do the homework, or maybe they are not good in doing the homework. That is certainly not compassion. That is somehow uh, a bit opposite. It is stealing away the child's capacity to learn. Compassion would perhaps be the mother or the father sitting together with the child and helping the child do that homework on its own. But to give support, saying, hey, I know it's difficult, but you can do it. So why don't we figure out how to do it? Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. So that kind of an encouragement would share the pain of that young person who is forced to do the homework by the school or whatever system, so that it can learn how to do it. So many people confuse compassion to niceness. Compassion is not niceness. Compassion is the sharing of somebody's suffering. And this already requires two things, my dear friends. First, it requires something called an empathy. Because if you don't feel other person's suffering, how are you going to feel compassionate towards them? So this is something we have to develop, which is the capacity to feel other people's suffering. Now, that itself is a big challenge in today's time, where most people are kind of self-obsessed and are mostly focused on themselves and how great they are, how magnificent they are, how wonderful they are, how the whole world revolves around them. And they forget to, to have a broader picture that, well, it's it's not easy for us to feel others. It's a broader picture that it's not easy for us to forget about ourselves and think about others. It's very challenging. So many people don't want to do it or unable to do it. There's a blockage. So that's where compassion is not an easy bhavana, as Patanjali calls it, to establish. It requires empathy, especially empathy to feel suffering. We all don't have any problems in sharing good moments with others. But compassion, karuna, involves sharing the difficult moment of the others. It involves sharing the difficult moments of the others. When somebody wins a lottery, we have no problem sharing with them. When somebody is getting married, we have no problem sharing with them. We are all celebrating. But when they're going through some pain, we're like, oh, sorry, we are busy. Oh, somebody came up, something else came up. We always avoid it. So that's where compassion is not an easy bhavana to develop, but it is an important bhavana to develop. And the second thing, which is also what I said is difficult, is the sharing of the suffering. It's not to take away their suffering. I am very sorry to disappoint you that none of you, including me, none of us, we are so great in this world that we can take somebody else's suffering away. The only person or the only entity that is capable of taking somebody's pain away is Ishvara, the divine. We cannot take somebody's pain away. It's impossible. So to address compassion as a way to somehow take away somebody's pain, to somehow remove somebody else's pain, that's an arrogance. That is completely arrogance on our side. If we think like that, we are certain to encounter failure. We are certain to encounter failure and great suffering ourselves, and also inflict suffering on others. So we need to understand that. That's why it's difficult, because sometimes we are so arrogant, we think we can solve somebody's problems. And maybe it's not even our business to solve somebody's problem. In which case, we are stealing their right to learn. We are not practicing asteya. We are practicing steya. We are stealing their right to learn. So this is where compassion is a very complicated bhavana. Many people confuse compassion to niceness. Oh, I want to be nice. I want to be nice. I want to be nice, etc. So this is what Patanjali is saying, that we have to develop, especially towards those who are in dukkham. Patanjali is talking about these 4 attributes through a concept that is called Satpatra Viniyoga, to have the right attitude towards the right person, towards the right circumstance. Maitri towards those who are in Sukha, Karuna towards those who are in Dukkha. This is quite significant, because otherwise it doesn't help. You cannot show the wrong attitude to the wrong circumstance. When somebody is suffering, you cannot say, oh, let's go celebrate. That doesn't work. We have to show compassion when somebody is suffering. We have to show compassion when somebody is suffering. So the contextualization is very, very key. The contextualization is very, very key. So do not confuse that we have to be compassionate always towards all beings, only towards those in suffering. And when you show that compassion should not be with an expectation of something in return. It is just an offering. It is just an offering. Now, some ways to practice compassion. Now, because today we are living in a society where not everybody is honest or open, let's put it this way, are open, because people are very guarded. So they are obviously carrying some dukkha in their heart, but are not willing to share it. So we don't know. We are not mind readers. When you meet somebody, you're not going to be a mind reader and know that they are in dukkham. They always carry some dukkham, but they don't say. So sometimes we need to accept that factor today. It's very easy when somebody falls on the street. You can see that they fell down, so you're going out for help. But sometimes it is not so easy. So there are different ways to practice compassion. One could be to speak with kindness. Kindness and niceness are not the same again. Speaking with kindness is a way to show compassion to somebody, especially those who may carry some hurt. But it doesn't mean that you become so polite and so complicated that you miss the point. No, so complicated. And again, the role is very important. When they are suffering, the role is very important. In which place you are in. Like, for example, if you are in an asana class, you just have to say, inhale, raise your arms. That's it. So you should not confuse that, because that is not unkind. Inhale, raise your arms is not unkind. So you must not complicate it with, oh, and when you feel ready, if you are in the mood, and if you can breathe in, at the same time, if you want to consider raising your arms, you may please raise your arms. Or if you cannot, raise a finger. You're losing the point. That's not compassion. That is absolute stupidity. That's absolute stupidity. And you're also treating the student as an idiot because you feel that they have no power over themselves, that you have to be so, whatever, confusing. This is not compassion, because compassion is also to speak. When we say speak with kindness, because what is the purpose of speech? The purpose of speech is for the other person to understand, not misunderstand or stay with ambiguity. So if you use 400,000 words, that leads to more ambiguity in the person than clarity. You are not practicing compassion. You are practicing something else. You are practicing stupidity. So please don't forget that being kind in speech should not be confused to being so nice and elaborate and detailed, and be clear and kind. Another way to show compassion is another big swallowing of the ego for many people is to apologize when you realize you made a mistake. This is something which we don't do. We all make mistakes. There's none of us in this world who hasn't made a mistake. So to take a stance and say, hey, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, it's my bad, is actually also compassionate, because otherwise, if you keep saying, no, I'm going to have the last word, I'm going to have the last word, I'm going to have the last word, I cannot be wrong, then you're basically not compassionate. You're only serving your ego. But apologize only when you have made a mistake, not to make somebody happy, and mean that apology. Listening carefully without judgment. This another thing which I realize, and I'm thinking about, maybe this could be one of the topics for our future conversation. There are 4 types of listening. One of them is listening to understand. So listen to understand that person. Sometimes you don't need to do anything else, but just listen sitting together with that person. When we all have been children, I don't have my own personal memory, but I can see I certainly have memories of this with seeing my daughter. My daughter would have like a toy, or sometimes she would sit with my dog, with our dog, and she would talk when she sat to that dog. Now the dog doesn't talk back, the doll doesn't talk back, but my daughter felt better. Sometimes when we are with people who are suffering, they don't need our opinion or advice. They just need our hearing. They just need to be heard. So listening, just listening, full stop. And I think some of you people, yoga teachers, or us people, yoga teachers, we need to practice this, because we think just because we are in a position of teaching, which is giving advice, we should give advice about everything to everybody all the time. No. Sometimes listening is enough. Quietly, we should listen. We must not. We people are so arrogant because we are in the samskara of giving advice, giving instructions. Raise your arms, bend forward, do this, do that, take diet to do this, take fasting, do this. We're always giving some advice to others. So we think our opinion is always priceless. Sometimes our opinion is useless. So listening to a person suffering is another way of showing compassion. Offering help to do something with somebody. Now, recently, it's fascinating how the plan is perfect, even though it's not our plan. And I think God knew that I was going to talk about compassion. And so he gave me an opportunity to experience this. A few days ago, I was having dinner with a friend. And as we were having dinner, one lady fell down. She missed the steps and she fell down in the steps. Now, my job is not to lift her. My job is to help her hold hands and help her to stand on her feet. So sometimes compassion is offering to do something together with the person, not to do for that person always. Sometimes, maybe when they are sick, like in the hospital, when they are sick, maybe you make some soup and take it for them. But sometimes doing it together with somebody, that's why I gave the example of doing the homework together with the child. Stay with the child, do the homework together, help the child do the homework. That's a great way to show compassion. Another way to show compassion is offering forgiveness. Because just like I said earlier, that we have to apologize for our mistakes because we can make mistakes. Other people will also make mistakes towards us. They will hurt us. They will hurt us. This is life. You cannot expect to have a life where nobody hurts us. That's impossible. That's illusion. And if you are going to live in that world, that's delusion. But give them the chance to apologize. Give them another chance to learn. They are continuing to hurt you, then step away rather than hurt them back. But if they are able to come back to you with an apology, accept it. Don't be egoistic saying, oh, we are so great. We cannot be hurt. What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. That's our arrogance. That's our ego talking. That is not our heart talking. Showing respect to people. This is one thing that is missing today. Respecting people for who they are, not what they think they are. This is very, very delicate because some people now, they think they are something they are not. No, but that's not something we need to accept. We need to respect for who they actually are, who show respect to that. This is very, very essential. This is very, very essential. Expressing gratitude and appreciation. Expressing gratitude and appreciation. We all take the things for granted. When problem comes, look at the positive side. What, instead of asking, why did this happen to me? We can ask the question, what can I learn from this? And when we learn the lesson, we can offer gratitude for that lesson. We have so many things, but we are often complaining about things that we don't have. I see people complain in the coffee shop about the wrong design on the top of the coffee, or that the coffee is too hot, or the coffee is slightly cold, or the coffee is too dark, or the coffee is too white. These are all not dukkha matters. And they feel so much suffering because the coffee is just not right. That's an illusion. There are people who are starving to death. That's real problem. Not that you have a bad type of coffee. So express gratitude and appreciation for what you have. Express gratitude for what people offer to you. If they are offering help, be grateful for that. And this is another thing I'll talk in a few moments about self-compassion as well, because that is an important topic. Being patient, this is one of the difficult things for me. I have learned in many years of my life. I've been a very impatient person myself. And this has been one of my, how do you say, challenges. It's not the only challenge, but this has been one of the biggest challenges because I've been a very impatient person. I cannot say I'm a very patient person now, but I am more patient than before. And patience, being patient is one way that we can show compassion. Because, for example, when we are working with people who are elderly or people who are a bit sick, we need to have patience. Like, for example, you may be in a supermarket and you are impatient to go in front of the queue. But there are some sick people in front of you. There are some elderly people who are very slow. They take the little fruit one by one to put it on the, that whatever that is called the belt. You know, we want to be in the front as soon as possible because that's then we are grumpy and growling and even abusive towards them. That's not showing compassion. We need to be patient. Sometimes somebody may be hurt. They may have a physical problem. They may be having a crutch and walking, or they may have a back pain or physical pain. Sometimes people don't share that pain. You can't see, all pain is not visible. Somebody may have like a chronic fatigue syndrome. That is not visible. That is not visible. It's an invisible thing. So you may be in line waiting in the supermarket, and in front of you may be a person who has chronic fatigue, and they are doing their best, but we don't know. But we are like, oh, idiot, why don't you just move on? Oh my God, you are taking so much time. That's not compassion. That's actually, again, arrogance. These are all testing for us, my dear friends. It's all testing. So, all this is some small ways that we can actually show compassion. And showing compassion to others is not enough. Showing compassion to others is not enough. We need to show compassion towards ourselves. If we are not compassionate towards ourselves, then we will collapse. So the question is, how can we show compassion towards ourselves? Now, all that we talked about now is as applicable to others as it is to ourselves. But a few things more we can do. One of the ways is let us start treating ourselves as a friend of ourselves. We need to accept that we are our own best friend. If we are not our friend, how can we expect others to be our friend? One of the things I tell my students who come to me and have some relationship issues and they talk to me and they don't love themselves, I say, if you don't love yourself, how can hell you expect somebody to love you? Look at it from a marketing point of view. If you are a product and you don't like the product, how the hell are you going to convince somebody else to like that product? So the same way, if you are not your own best friend, how can you help? How can you expect somebody to be your best friend? So we have to start showing Maitri towards ourselves. That's why Patanjali starts with Maitri, friendliness. Be your own friend. First and foremost. When you are your friend, you will take care. So take care of your body, doing your practice, having a clean body, having a bath every day, or having good diet every day, good lifestyle every day. That is a way of showing compassion. Overworking is not showing compassion. And I can guarantee you, my dear friends, I share this from my own experience. I have overworked more than 20 years in my life. And I have suffered the price of that overwork. with very grave consequences. And that's why I share to my students, please learn from my experience, my mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes I made. I'm an expert in this. So overworking is not showing compassion to ourselves. Resting is not bad. Resting when we need to rest. This is where we need to become self-aware. That's the second thing, becoming self-aware. What does our body want? Not what you want. What does the body want? What does the body need actually? We have normalized very bad behavior nowadays. Like we have normalized working 8 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. That's normal, but it is not healthy. We have normalized things that should not be normal. So we need to become self-aware. We have to regain sensitivity to ourselves. Body is tired, take rest. Body needs to sleep, let it sleep. In summer, you have more energy, great. In winter, you have less energy, great, accept it. Accept where your body is, because your body is not going to be the same. Just like what we talked about earlier about friendship. You will accept your friend as they are. You won't try to change your friend, right? That's the definition of friendship. The same way, if you are your best friend, you accept your body as you are. Talking badly about our body, oh, I am ugly, oh, I am horrible, oh, I am not good enough, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm not perfect. Because some bloody idiot told us when we were young, it could be our father, mother, school teacher, neighbor, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever that is. That voice is stuck in our head, and we keep repeating that as our mantra. That's not compassion. And you are not that child anymore. You are somebody else. Today is different from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever that is. So becoming self-aware and being kind and respectful to ourselves. We talked about respect, right? To others. The same respect to ourselves. That's how we are. Don't judge yourself too quickly, just like you won't judge your friend if they are not perfect. If they make mistakes, the same, don't become so harsh towards yourself. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, blah, blah. My life is this way. My life is that way. And another way of self-care, my dear friends, which I think is very, very important. Accept help when your friend is offering help. People are too proud to accept help from others. People are too proud to share their problems to others. I have great difficulty with some of my friends who don't share their problems to me. I can see, and they think that I cannot see they are in suffering. But I see they're suffering, but I keep asking, what's the problem? Oh, nothing. Everything is okay. But it's not. I can feel it. So accepting when somebody offers help. It could be a stranger. It could be a stranger. God works in mysterious ways. God works in very, very mysterious ways. When I was going through some treatment for my eyes last year in a foreign country where I did not know anybody, I was wondering, what am I going to do after the treatment? Because the doctor said I'm going to be very blurred. God sent somebody saying, hey, Kausthub, do you need help? I'll come and sit with you during your procedure. So accept it. It's not expected. I didn't expect it, but it happened. I accepted. And therefore, I'm very grateful. So that's also showing compassion to yourself when you receive help. I'm very short. Sometimes in the supermarket, I cannot reach things on the top. Somebody offers to help. I accept it rather than saying, hey, don't bother. Why the hell are you bothering? Why are you invading my space? I accept it. Otherwise, I will never be able to reach what I want to get. So somehow, this is a big issue for many people now to accept help. Accept help is okay. It's not a bad thing at all. Because accept it without the feeling of being obligated to that person. Because a person offering help with an obligation, those kind of people you should avoid. But somebody who is helping you without any obligation has no problem. And the more self-aware you become, the more aware you will become which kind of person is what. So your intuition will tell you who to be careful with and who not to be careful with. And regain your own perspective. Another way to show compassion, don't expect other people to validate you. Have your own perspective. You know best what's going on in your life. Somebody else doesn't know what's going on in your life. You know best what is going on in your life. You may not know everything about your life, but you know more about your life than other people know about your life. So regain that perspective where you let go of other people's validation and start to feel more secure about your own feelings. And this is very, very, very important. And this is essentially quite critical, this concept of self-compassion, because if you're only compassionate towards others and not yourself, it's quite possible that you will develop a problem that is very common to care providers, which is called compassion fatigue. They're always caring for others. Like this happens very common with nurses or care providers. They always take care of others. They ignore taking care of themselves. This will create what is called compassion fatigue. You are exhausted because you're showing compassion. Don't forget, compassion is a two-way project. It's not a one-way project. It's a two-way. The more compassionate you are towards yourself, the more you can be to others, and one will integrate, will nourish the other. And why it is important to practice compassion, because I did some research about this before our talk, is also there are some very interesting benefits of compassion. First of all, you may feel good about yourself. You will feel good about yourself, definitely. And it's not in a proud way, but it's a different feeling of good. And more importantly, studies have shown that compassionate people live longer. Unless you are killed by compassion fatigue. As I said, healthy compassion. Healthy compassion. Another thing also is compassion is very closely connected to dharma, life purpose. Because if you are compassionate to yourself, you become more self-aware. You will become aware of your dharma. So it also helps you in fulfilling your dharma. And also, I think the more compassionate we become, it helps us in our relationships. And I don't only mean romantic relationships. I mean relationships with everybody. It could be with your children. It could be with your parents. It could be with your friends. It could be with your students. It could be with your teachers. It could be with your neighbors. It could be with your colleagues. It helps build relationships. It's very healthy. And we are nothing but part of many relationships. I am, for example, if I speak for myself, I am a son to my mother, to my father. That's a relationship. I am a father to my daughter. I'm a friend to my friends. I'm a teacher to my students. I'm a student to my teachers. So I am basically a collection of relationships. And this applies for every one of us. So if we are not compassionate, we cannot manage this relationship in a healthy way. Whereas if we have the capacity to develop this compassion towards ourselves and others, our relationships in all ways will improve. So this is another study that they've done where compassionate people are having better relationships than people who are non-compassionate. It's very fascinating. So there's even a tangible material benefit to practicing karuna, which of course Patanjali is talking about many, many years ago for spiritual reasons as well. Because we are all part of community, my dear friends. We all need help. And therefore, we need to share this with our, what do you call, other sharers of this universe. And this is towards animals as well, towards plants as well. Saying hello to a walking street dog is also compassion. Watering a plant that is not even yours is also compassion. So this is some of the things I wanted to share with you today. There is a question that has come. What about people who are addicted to compassion from others? Those who are always complaining about everything to receive permanent attention and compassion from others. That's not really compassion, actually, it's attention. They're seeking attention, they're not seeking compassion. And there are people like that. We just have to deal with them appropriately. Best thing is to try and educate them to take responsibility for their life. And if they cannot do it, we guide them to seek help through professional help or through other ways where they can at least learn. And if not, we can just pray to God and let God guide their life, because we can't do anything else for somebody who does not want to do something for themselves. We just cannot help other people if they don't want to help themselves. It's not possible. Even the greatest of medical doctors cannot help a patient unless they help themselves. And I'm saying this because medicine is a very invasive procedure. No, a surgeon can remove cancer. It's a very invasive procedure. But the surgeon will tell you, don't do this for 3 days or 4 days after the surgery or something like that. And the people don't listen. They just say, forget to take medicines, forget to keep themselves clean, forget to follow the dietary advice that the doctor gives. Doctor cannot do anything. They will collapse. So you cannot help somebody who don't want to help themselves. So this is something which I would like to say for that question. And yeah, so this is karuna. It's a very fascinating word. There's another subtle thing that is hidden in the word karuna, because the word karuna also is connected to the word rana, which means debt. D-E-B-T, debt, like credit and debt, not death. Sorry for my English accent being not perfect, but debt, like you owe something to somebody or something. There's a subtle meaning there. When we practice karuna, compassion, we should do it without the feeling of debt, that they are indebted to us. And if we receive help, we must not receive with the feeling of that debt. If we do that, that's a transaction. If your friend is helping you, if you feel you have to help them back, otherwise the balance is not equal, that is not compassion, that is transaction. That is a transaction. So my lovely friend from Colombia, Andres, is asking a very political question. The international community seems to be less compassionate in conflicts. Is compassion something that affects nations? Well, nation is made of people. So if it affects people, it affects nations, because nations are made of people. That's it. So anyway, so wonderful to see you all, my dear friends. We will close today's topic with a chant, and we will meet again in March, where we will talk about upeksha, appreciation. So let us end it with a chant. Om Tachayyaravrimahe Gatai Yajnaya Gatai Yajnapataye Daive Swastirastu Naha Swasthirmanushebyah Ordhvanjighatu bheshajam Shanno asto dvipade Shanchatushpade Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Namaste, friends. Namaste. See you next time.